We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Birch, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster, that's PUNKYBRUASETER, and Karina Davey, who you can reach on Instagram at CARINAE_D. Today we're here to talk about Fallout's 6th episode, titled The Trap. I've had it in the chamber for 2 weeks because we missed our recording last week because we were preparing to go to the camp. And I'm very thankful that we didn't record last week because it would be one more brick on my back of the backlog of things that we've had to constantly have throughout this entire season for reasons. More importantly, is that I did not promote our Squawk Tech t-shirts and our Squawking Fallout logo design from our merch store. You can head to our merch store by heading to squawkingdead.com, hitting the main menu on the top left and choosing merch, or it is, if you're watching on YouTube, in the description of this video. Yay. And you can go there right now. I think the designs are pretty damn solid. I like the almost team sports design of it. Yeah, like you ever see like a high school sports team t-shirt? It has that kind of feel to it. The outline text. And it's a Squawk Tech sort of Vault Tech logo with the skull in the middle instead of the circle. And it's really
Clearly,
cool.
David
I think it's
played
cool.
a lot of sports in high school.
Well, no, my wife's a high school teacher, so she'll bring home some of their goods. And I was like, oh, it kind of looks like that. Okay, it's like a sports jersey.
Sports jersey. I can't wait to get mine. I'm excited.
Well, and you'll be able to get it soon.
I do have this cool one on, though.
Which awesome. I did not expect it to look so cool.
Yeah, that one, I'm sorry, right now, like, what's happening here does not even do it justice. Like, that shirt is so freaking cool. The colors are just
It pops
beautiful.
really well, better than you can tell in this.
That was the so what we're talking about for the audio podcast is the Fear the Walking Dead Season 8 alternative logo design. That was a test design, basically. I was like, it kind of looks good. Do you remember the colors for that? It was kind of like a neon swamp green swamp thing, sort of green Fear logo with like the white Squawking Dead text.
Oh, I have that one. I do have that one.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so this was kind of like an alternative design that I was like, well, it looks good, but will it test good? And then Sharon just got it, and Evelyn was like, wow, that looks really, really cool.
Yeah,
and she's a tough cookie. So.
I love it on the gray too. I think that makes it pop even more.
We just arbitrarily decided on that color too. Like she's like, I don't care. I said, it doesn't come in that color. Just get gray. Okay, here you go.
Sounds familiar.
Just pick a color. Yeah. I don't care.
Second thing is that we came back from the camp. I can safely say, I think I had a really good time, actually. And at some point, I feel like we really should and soon talk about our time there, what we did, who we did it with, the cops that we spoke to after we did it, all that stuff.
Look, I was not there for that party.
Yeah, you were hosting some sort of gig.
Probably. Unless you mean Dustin.
For all my Fear fans out there, I met Morgan.
This is true.
Yeah. Let's save that bit for when we actually talk about it, because that was very interesting and you handled that well. He handled that better, though. For all the overwhelming feelings whenever it comes to convention and representing ourselves and all that other stuff, it just all melts away. And it feels like that consistently every year. So kudos to the camp for a wonderful, wonderful event. And going bigger and bigger every year, too.
Yeah, Margot Bingham actually said something at the Speakeasy event, which was on Sunday night. So you guys were gone. But she was just kind of trying to like verbalize how to encapsulate that event. We can all admit that it's unique. She goes, you guys have no boundaries in the best possible way. Because it's so personal and you get to spend so much time together. It does bring a unique experience for the actors who I think at other conventions are a little more isolated from the public, because it's a lot to take on as a convention runner to say like, we're going to make it that you're accessible to people all of the time. That's scary. There's a lot that comes along with that.
It's a risk.
Yeah, it is. I think it's cool that they've been able to continue that and not run into any issues and had really great security. I mean, the security team is awesome.
99.9% of the people that come to camp don't even try to take advantage of that situation in a bad way. I personally don't know of any times when somebody was disrespectful or threatening
Well, not
towards
this
a
year.
celebrity or anything.
Well, I'll
Not
tell you
threatening, but I do know that people are disrespectful. But it's okay.
No, I mean,
it's gonna happen.
No, I mean,
anywhere.
I'm just saying. I personally don't know of any incident where something's happened at camp. I've heard of other stuff like the keys and the bite, but
which was at a different convention anyway.
right, which was not camp. But
well, I'll say this: the only drama that I've ever seen is between campers, essentially, but not the campers with an actor that comes to the show.
Right,
And the
that's
actor
what I'm
gets
saying,
weird
right.
and.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying nobody is aggressive or threatening or crazy towards the actors or the celebrities.
In fact, what I really like about the camp is in most conventions, when you walk the floor, because of the autos and the selfies and all that stuff, there's a policy in basically every single convention I've attended where, hey, people pay for these autographs and these photos and all that stuff. Please don't take photos of the actors while they're at their selfie booths and all that stuff and walking around. Please be respectful. Here, it's free for all, essentially. And I'm saying not selfies with them, but you can take photos of them while they're walking around.
Well, what the camp essentially states about that is like, you could like jump in front of people and be like, no, stop, don't do that. But like, what's the point?
What's the point?
They're going to do it anyway. Like, that's the thing. They're going to do it anyway. And if you're going to be like a dick about it, you're just pouring fuel on the fire. So you might as well just
about not taking photos.
Yes, they're
about taking photos?
They're going to be like, oh, this guy was such a dick. Like, who even cares? It's not that big of a deal. Like, because that's always how people act about that stuff.
Well, I think this is what I was going to get to was the actors themselves get into a sort of bargain where they know they're going to be walking around, they're going to be accessible to fans, and that's going to happen. And they're in a room when they get to the autos and selfie rooms, at least this year, where it's closed off. It's not in an open space. Let's say it's in a large room, but it's in an open space that is specifically catered towards the autos and selfies. So when they're there, they try not to do it. But I've seen the photos of people doing it. And even then, it's actually pretty chill and totally understandable. So I guess what I'm saying is both the actors and the fans enter into an agreement where it's a little bit more casual. And they're okay with it. They're happy with it. Whereas in the other conventions, it could be a little bit more corporatized with the volunteers like telling people, hey, stop doing that. Hey, stop it. Stop taking a photo. People pay for these photos.
They made me stop one year. I was recording Teo talking to Aaron.
Within reason, right? Like if I saw that,
We had press.
I would get up. Well, yeah, you would press.
Right, I thought of that later. I didn't think of that
course,
at the time.
after.
You're too busy being
I was
yelled
like, wait
at.
a minute, I'm press.
That's why they included that rule with the press.
As someone who's worked as a handler, out of respect for the person I'm working with, if I felt that they were being taken advantage of in any way, then I would get up and be like, hey, look, not trying to be a jerk, but if you want to record them, like you need to ask them. It's discretion of the person who's working the booth.
I still got footage,
yeah.
but it's like, okay, whatever.
I was with Anthony Azor this time and just like, he's a kid. So like you bet your bottom I would have been up so fast and in front of that camera.
Yeah.
Because he's a little kid. We're not going to play around with that.
Who plays
Just is
RJ
not
Grimes,
okay.
by the way?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, maybe it's possible.
This is all information for another episode.
Yeah. In any case, we had a good time. End of story.
It's always great when we get to see our friends and hang out. The celebrities are just icing because to me, the best part is seeing all your lovely faces and spending time with you guys.
I wish we could have seen more of the family, but
Yeah. It's always, it's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
Like Karina. Wish we could have seen her.
I would have loved to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been fun. I was really excited by this episode because there are a lot of little connections to New Vegas. And the reason that's important to me as a gamer is because for the longest time, we weren't sure if New Vegas actually fit in canonically with the rest of the series.
The timeline definitely fits.
Yeah.
But as far as Vault 4 goes on the whole, I'm not sure it does. The existence and the story behind it, according to the wiki, does fit.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what they're asserting in terms of the past, what Vault 4 was supposed to be does not match. As far as what Vault 4 was meant to be on the show, is supposed to be the management overseeing all the other vaults. That was not in the wiki.
I don't know if that's accurate, though, because I'm pretty sure Cooper's wife is saying she wants to get them into a vault for management. But Cooper's advertising for the scientists are living there to do experiments on I forget exactly what they say, but
radiation on human DNA.
That's right. That is what they're saying that vault is for. So I don't think it's meant to be the same vault. I think that she was talking about getting them into a different vault. So
Okay, that could be true. Although, wait. Hold on a second. The only thing where that doesn't make sense is because they already have the scientists for Vault 4 living in Vault 4 for a 5-year term, which means they do have a role, as opposed to the wiki, which says there was no assigned roles.
Okay, well, the wiki could be wrong, but
you're saying the fans are wrong?
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Able to be edited by anyone. So
True.
Errors may occur.
And then again, if you really think about it, it does fall in line with Vault Tech on the whole anyway, because it could be that nobody had a role, but maybe some people were little sleeper Vault Techies that did have a role and said, oh, well, I could be scientist.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Could be a scientist, yeah. Pretend to be a scientist.
I have a background in DNA analysis.
Yeah, sure.
Well, then you're a scientist. Cool. I'm glad we have you on board.
Yeah.
I loved it because it just dropped all these little nuggets of knowledge everywhere.
Similar to episode 1.
I loved the juxtaposition of showing Cooper and his friend
Matt Berry,
right, okay.
The guy who played Codsworth.
Right.
The voice of Codsworth.
It cuts from them talking to Cooper laying on the ground and Snip dying next to him.
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't know that this one was like my favorite by any means, but I thought it was good. There's some pretty good tension in this one, I guess.
Sleeper tension.
Kind of.
Something's off.
Like I feel stressed out, but I'm not 100% why. I can't 100% pinpoint why.
Like Maximus in the beginning. And then Lucy by the end.
Yeah.
How many times did you watch this episode? Because just for the audience, for the last 2 weeks, she said she didn't watch it, which is not bad on its face. But it just got to yesterday, and she's like, I still haven't watched it. It's interesting.
I got done watching it at 7:15 this evening.
Aren't you glad I asked? Always a payoff.
I watched it once, and it was with Silas. So yeah,
so weird.
Well, there was a lot of covering of the eyes.
Unexpected.
Which, in hindsight, he's watched all of the Friday the 13th movies. So I'm like,
You're referring specifically to the nudity, right?
Well, yeah. Silas has been watching blood and gore and death since he was like 3, 4.
Oh, 3.
This is my kid we're talking about.
Gotcha. For as old as he was able to speak.
But we always talked about that it was makeup. He knew immediately that it was all fake.
That ain't makeup.
Right, but
some of it is, but
it's all fake. Nobody's actually anyway. But no. Oh my gosh. What is happening? What?
I'm giving you a runway just to Rachel out.
So curious.
That is my initial reaction.
Okay.
What the what?
The end with the culty scene?
Just all of Vault 4 is what. Everything else was great. Like the scene with the ghoul and the president, like that was just hilarious. But Vault 4, what is happening? And why do they have to be naked to do it? I don't like this at all.
I think you've discovered what it means to wander into a random vault in a Fallout game, because that's exactly usually how it goes. Like, what is happening here?
And Birdie kind of encapsulates it too, by the way.
I want to go back and hang out with Gary.
Right.
If we went
way less weird.
No, you don't.
Gary's way less weird than this.
Yeah. I think it's, maybe like the
Gary.
wiki. Equally weird.
I thought she was oh my goshing about their time together in the test subject room.
Oh yeah.
Where they had that lovely discussion.
Those conversations too. And he's like, I don't want that gross thing to happen. I'm like, what the?
Pops like a pimple.
I love she's like, ideally it happens every time.
Yeah. That's supposed to happen. Yeah.
So I'm assuming he's never.
No, definitely not.
No.
He's going to be pleasantly surprised.
I'm pretty sure for most of his life he was in the Brotherhood of Steel, like training thing with a bunch of other guys, like probably. And clearly not educated about this whatsoever because, you know, it was
Except for that one guy masturbating the bunks.
Well,
I mean, so does he just think that every guy that has an orgasm is sick or something?
I felt bad that he thought that was something to be ashamed of or weird. You know what I mean? Because, like, he just doesn't know.
Right.
Be afraid of.
Yeah, like, I'm worried that's going to
was...
happen because, like, well, that should be happening. Like, you know.
He's got to know that it doesn't actually explode.
Maybe he's making the assumption that she doesn't know what it is.
Okay.
That she's never seen that before.
Right. Okay. That's fair.
But she offered, so she must. But then again, that's why he counters with, he's just faking it till he makes it. He's like, well, I hear it happens to some guys,
it's
right?
Not everyone,
you know.
not me.
Looking at the scene now, it's like, he's like, you smell good. And she's like, what? And then it's like, it dawns on her and she's like, oh, do you want to have sex? Like, maybe she thought that was what he was getting at.
I think you're on it. Yeah.
Also, what does she smell like?
Probably
better
not.
than him.
Probably.
The guy who took out the poop all the time, essentially.
What I felt the worst for him was when he said, what do you mean hot shower?
Yeah, he's obviously never experienced that in his life.
We talked about plumbing in the first episode, and there definitely ain't no showers. So
yeah,
there you go.
Also, 200-year-old caviar is not something I'm going to eat.
But if it's perfectly preserved,
I don't want to eat current day caviar, so I'm not sure I'm going to eat 200-year-old caviar either.
I did love that whole basket, though, because those are all things that you can find, obviously, in the games.
Sugar Bomb cereal, Vault-Tec caviar, oysters, Cram Classic, Yum Yum Brands deviled eggs, as we all saw in previous episodes, salty snacks, mixed nuts. It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's probably why they did it. Blamco mac and cheese, which Roger mentions, the ghoul. Fancy Lad snack cakes, commonly called Fancy Lads. And it's a kind of a running joke in the games, essentially. Boy, I'd kill for some Fancy Lads right about now. Wait, I know how that sounds. It is a line from the games.
Yes.
It was a different time. Anyway, there was also 2 bottles of champagne and 2 bottles of water, which I thought it might have supported a little bit the theory that was the vault, the high-end vault that the Howards were supposed to end up in, the family.
Right.
I'm with you, though, Karina. I can be persuaded that wasn't the one, but...
It was just my impression that it definitely felt like different vaults. It never occurred to me that they were the same vault. I think it was meant to be that he's advertising a run-of-the-mill vault. This one is for scientists.
When they showed him walking down the hallway in the advertisement, they showed the room that they gave to Maximus.
So they call it Sycamore Lane or something like that?
Yeah,
Sycamore Lane.
Right. But room 604 was the test subject's room.
Yes.
Oh, and 428, yes, on Sycamore Lane. That was what they gave Titus, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, he's still known as Titus to Lucy.
Yeah.
So
Pseudo-Titus.
Maximus.
Titus or Titus?
Oh, we did get to see him in the shower. Talk about nude scenes.
I did enjoy watching him, like, just fully embrace the luxuriousness of it all. Because he's, think about he's never experienced anything like this in his life. And so, of course, he's, like, very suspicious. Like, everyone's so nice. Why are they so nice? Like, he wants to question what is the purpose of them being so nice, and he immediately thinks they're all in a cult, they're all smiling, and that turns out they are. But by the time he gets some popcorn in him and has a hot shower, he's like, this place is kind of nice, actually. So,
they gave me a robe
and slippers.
And slippers.
Yeah, and I can watch a waterfall on the TV forever.
The other thing that kind of got to me was when he walked out to the guy when he had the caviar in his hand.
Excuse me.
But the way he said it, he was like, what is this? And I was like, that's not the first time that guy's had an outsider. In a different vault, somebody would have made fun of him or something like that. But these are people that are used, or he may have been an outsider who got brought in.
I was going to say, he might have been an outsider too.
Like Birdie says. Yeah. Well, it dovetails nicely with the song that ends up playing as the door closes behind him. Mm-hmm. It's Give Me the Simple Life by June Christie.
Mm-hmm.
And the words of the song say everything. You were singing it before, before we started recording, but it reflects really nicely Cooper Howard's past, his luxurious movie star, rap party lifestyle. And then the morning after he's sitting with Janie for breakfast, he's basically saying, give me the simple life, which effectively is another song. It's Bing Crosby's Don't Fence Me In, which we talked about in, I think it was episode 3 maybe, which was, let me be a cowboy out in the prairie, feeding my animals on the open range, being a cattle rancher, essentially what he's saying. But he says cowboy, but it's really cattle rancher. Just seeing that juxtaposition of what the simple life is for somebody who's rich and what the simple life is for somebody who's a surface dweller, and just how they meet in the middle And for somebody that's been up on the surface, a surfy, apparently, if you want to be racist, you vault dweller, 5 generations strong.
I know.
A simple life for somebody like that is heaven, which we did refer to, quote unquote, as Vault 4, according to the wiki in the last episode. They built this heaven for the people from the surface.
Yeah.
They made it the Garden of Eden, essentially. For the refugees of Shady Sands, well, let's get to Francisco for a hot sec. The New Vegas connections were neat, makes all those people saying the show is breaking lore by ruining it look stupid because New Vegas can finally be explored fully. Quote unquote, the end of the world is a product, referring to the Codsworth appearance. Or I forget what his name was. He calls him Seabass.
Is his name Bartholomew Codsworth? Because he says that as the quote, or is that the name of the robot? You know,
it's the name of the robot.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let me throw this factoid out of the way and we can tie that in later. But the robot was part of a television program initially, entertainment.
I missed that.
What ended up happening, though, and because this is why he says the end of the world is a product, and this is why he realizes it, is that he got a certain amount of money for the role, essentially to lend his voice for the robot. What ended up happening for the show is that Robco itself, they made the robot, and then they ended up buying the studio anyway.
Yeah.
For the program.
Yeah.
And so you see there's a monopolization, there's an accruing of conglomeration of these companies getting bigger and bigger, being this umbrella for a bunch of other subdivisions of entertainment, products, services, etc. West Tech, Cryotech, West Tech being the weapons division.
Yeah, military operation.
Which the government
weapons.
contracts. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cryotech meaning the cryopods we see at the end of the episode. You see the logo, or not the logo, but you see the words Cryopod by Cryotech. Which,
Cryotech, yeah.
Did you need to put anyway, this way you don't remember where you buy your products from that don't exist anymore, you idiots. Anyway, so what I'm saying is there's a conglomeration of these companies buying up these other sub companies and et cetera, et cetera. Enclave, anyone? Anyway.
Robco has quite an extensive, I was going to mention that, Robco buying up everything.
Right, including this entertainment studio.
Yes.
Was it California Crest? Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
And then once they bought it out, I guess that's when he realized that it's all about, entertainment is dead. Movies are dead. It's all about what you can hawk as a product or what product you can provide. You are a product. I am a product, etc. Going back to Francisco, Lucy was seeing all those people naked and she was like, exactly what Rachel said. What's happening here?
Wow.
And he says, you smell good, quote unquote, smells like fries and sweat, which is an upgrade. Yeah. Technically, from Maximus smelling like poop.
In comparison,
Maximus is enjoying that luxury like non-city person check into a hotel. Into a New York City hotel, essentially. It's like Kevin in Home Alone 2 checking into the, what was it? The Waldorf Astoria?
There's got to be a qualifier here. Into a 5-star New York City hotel.
Yeah. Which is
because I've been in some other ones
anymore.
And it ain't luxury, baby.
You were at a motel and
that was a hotel,
an airport.
Sir? It was a hotel, sir.
Oh no, lady. Oh no, it was an airport motel.
Okay, yes, but a
not
building
even 6. It was like a motel
height,
2.
A building of that height and cost in any other city is a hotel. A motel has 2 stories and you can access the rooms from the outside directly.
Your doors are facing the outside.
It was not that.
It's a motel.
It was not
you were like really close to it. Anyway, his name is Sebastian Leslie. So that's why he calls him Seabass. Sebastian Leslie, the actor who plays Codsworth. What was his full name? Bartholomew Codsworth. Yes. The Mr. Handy of the show. That's why they call him Mr. Handy. Kick his ass, Seabass. That's from, what was that
Dumb
from?
and Dumber.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Dumb and Dumber. Right from the beginning, I think it was, wasn't it?
Not the like super beginning. They're at the restaurant and they meet Flo,
waitress.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Looks like another member of Squawking Dead jumped ship and finished the rest of the series. And she's not here right now to defend herself.
Don't worry, Dave. You and I are in that paddle boat together.
That's right. Rachel and I are the only members left who haven't watched the rest of the series. So, Sharon,
to be fair, I held it together. I held it together for a very long time because I'd watched it.
You lied.
Yeah, I did. I watched it before we even started recording. Are we gonna?
Lied behind the scenes.
Yes, I said, "Are we going to cover Fallout?" And you were like, "I don't know." And then Travis was like, "Want to watch Fallout?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And I just watched it. And then you were like, "We're covering Fallout." And I was like, "Great! I've always wanted to watch it. Always."
So you're outing yourself as the biggest liar in human history. gaslighting us all.
If I'm being honest, if I had the time, I'd have watched it all already too.
Yeah, I 100% binged it like the day after it came out.
Yeah, dude, it's so good.
Your lack of discipline is left to be desired. All of you.
Lack of discipline is
Karina
left to be desired.
Because
that doesn't
say I'm not involved. I was
sense.
asked
It's
after
only
I'd
not
already
paid
watched
for.
the whole thing. So.
I just want to be clear with the audience. There's only 2 people left who haven't watched ahead. But with that said, let's go into the timeline briefly because there are a couple of key notes. Okay. I want to be clear. I figured out that Shady Sands at present day, that nuke went off 19 years ago, according to both the Blackboard and Birdie's age. Essentially, Birdie is actually 30. She's not 30. But she's 30 on the show.
Oh, the actress? Oh, no, she's not 30. But
she's not
I will
30,
say...
But she is, according to the show.
I don't remember what else she's been in, but as soon as I saw her face, I was like, oh, she's
she's gorgeous. Oh, yes.
She's a that girl. 100%.
Like, oh,
she's a that girl.
Anyway.
I didn't recognize her. I recognized Bud Ass-Kiss. Or what is it?
Bud Askins.
Bud Askins, whatever.
Which is not unintentional.
Good, yeah, like
who? Cyclops?
No, that's Benjamin.
Oh, okay.
Bud Askins is the guy who keeps trying to, hey, Cooper Howard, I love you.
Like, hey.
Logistics, operations, management.
Yeah,
management is where you want to be.
Management is the future.
It's not competition. It's not one-upping your competitor. It's time.
That guy's the worst.
Time is the worst, yeah. I was going to say.
But he's not any different. He may even be better / worse than the people you overhear at the party.
Yeah.
Right? These people going, well, the Alaska thing is not happening. Well, I guess we're going to have to tell him. No, Bud Askins is ahead of the curve. And we'll talk about him more a little later. But zeroing on the timeline, she says she was 11, I think, right? When the heat from her face while she was in Philly, her mom was a courier. She could feel the heat of that blast of Shady Sands from all the way out in Philly.
Yeah.
That means 19 years ago, because now we're in 2277 again.
Yep.
The original bombs that went off was 2077. So 200 years later, the bombs went off again in Shady Sands, making it 2277 that happened. We're in 2296. That makes it 11 plus 22.
Okay.
Or sorry, is it 11 plus 22? Sorry, so 2277, 2296, 19 years. That makes her 30. Okay, so we got a couple of dates on the Blackboard as well, which is something we can do really quickly. The timeline is as follows. 2142, Shady Sands was founded. 2189, New California Republic was created. This is about 47 years. 2198, Shady Sands becomes the capital of NCR, the New California Republic. 2241, NCR becomes the largest economic and political power in California. Let's stop right here. Because Karina said in one of our previous episodes that NCR becomes so big, they produce new products, they become a leading power in the world. They're expanding. They're becoming expansionist.
Yes.
They're getting other communities to sign up, but kind of like what the president of the government is doing right now. Well, nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah, government.
Which inevitably, I guess, probably leads to its downfall because... No, we are the last light of the world, says the Enclave, basically, is what I'm assuming. It's not said on the show, but it's a theory, which I said in the last episode. Keep going. For 36 years, until 2277, the fall of Shady Sands. 200 years after the first nukes go off. Now, what does that mean also? 2296 means 19 years ago, right? That happened. We were wondering when the nukes went off at Shady Sands and where it falls within the gaming timeline. And I just want to say as a side note, we had the question of what Fallout 76 meant because you weren't sure. It's an MMORPG, right? Is what you mentioned before the show.
Yes.
And Fallout 76 just represents the vault number 76.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's not a year or a date or anything like that. All this to say is that as far as the timeline between the games and the show goes, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
And one more bit. What I mentioned in the wiki about Vault 4 is that similar to Fallout 76, they seem to want to explore the outside world pretty soon after the bombs drop. Vault 4, they do it to root out the people who want to escape Vault 4, essentially. Conflicts end up happening, and the people who end up beating them in the conflict get beaten themselves by the people because there are supporters of each side. There's supporters of McCarthyism who favor the system, and there are the people who want to upend the system. And it ties very nicely into this episode because of the commies wanting to save the world and Vault Tech, which is trying to, in my opinion, this episode supports my theory, want to accelerate the end of the world. Charlie White Knife says this to Cooper Howard at the bar, basically. It's in their best interest. It's the fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to accelerate the end of the world and have peace talks fall apart in Anchorage, essentially. And whatever, right? Allied powers, depleted uranium supply, all that stuff, energy issues. So I wanted to zero in on this, though, because Benjamin, basically the overseer of this vault in today's timeline, he's been there for 5 generations, right? This is a bigger commentary on nativism, by the way. We said the show was not political, but it is a little, because if he's only been there for 5 generations, that means minimum 100 years. It does fall in line with the Vault 4 wiki. However, he's obviously from the surface. Sorry. But he's going on and on about how he's so racist against the surface dwellers. And he can't see it himself.
Get it, Dave? Get it?
Get it?
Yeah. We have people like that today.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, come on. I have to explain the toilet like I'm better than them.
I know. He's so obsessed with getting the toilet instructions down, like drilled into them. She's like, yep, that is how a toilet works.
I mean, technically, I get it.
Well, when you've cleaned up your 100th mess, you want to make sure they know how to use it. At least it's not the 3 seashells.
Oh, God. It was nice to see Dr. Spachemin doing something else, you know?
Bridget, that was all I could think of was Chris Spachemin. I'm like, I could not think of his name.
Doctor. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's from 30 Rock.
You've never watched 30 Rock?
Okay.
Oh,
not really.
Yeah, he played a doctor named. His name was spelled Spaceman, but it was spelled he was pronounced Spachemin.
It's probably better in context.
No, that's the joke. That's the whole joke.
That is the joke.
And he's a terrible
it's framed
doctor.
around comedy, not just dropping it randomly.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
But it's
fair,
funny.
Right? Hard disagree since I haven't watched it. Y'all have this secret language.
Sounds like a you problem.
You should watch it.
You know, not wrong. But anyway, he was on SNL too, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Chris Parnell, right?
Was on Saturday Night Live,
Right.
yes.
I know him from Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah.
He's Jerry on Rick and Morty.
Jerry.
Gary.
Not to be confused with Gary.
Exactly.
Gary. Yeah, that's what I know.
Let's face facts. That man has quite the voice. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do so much more voice acting that we didn't know about.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh man, those
Probably.
golden pipes of his and Matt Berry's. Could do some damage. Right, ladies?
Those 2 girls shot him down, boy. Like, he just went right in for it. Like, dude, have a little more chill. I mean,
well, he also tried to like neg them too, because didn't he say something like, I usually only do this for family and beautiful women, and the 2 of you are halfway
like
there.
that.
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, no wonder they shot him down, because he was kind of rude.
You can't blame a guy for trying.
Well, he didn't try very hard. So.
I'd like to say that.
He's very casual about it. Yeah, well, just going back to Overseer with one eye, Benjamin, not to be racist, but the timeline does fit of when his family 5 generations ago entered into Vault 4. 100 years ago is well within the time that Vault 4 was abandoned. 4, by the way, was a containment failure essentially, or a reactor failure essentially, which is interesting. When Maximus goes into that room, that's what I was thinking of to get the fusion core. Yeah. But it's still somebody went in and swept it and actually cleaned it out and made it livable. It's just interesting what he says. It's before my time. That was the more interesting thing that he said. The policy of taking in people from the outside was before his time.
Well, because he wouldn't do it. That's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, I know. That's the funny bit of it. But the more interesting bit of it is who set that emotion. I'm not saying you guys should know. I'm springing this up on you all of a sudden. But it just goes to show that also, in a weird way, kind of like Vault 33, being almost this experiment in docile behavior, like breeding a docile breed of vault dwellers, let's say. He just goes with the flow, doesn't question this policy, doesn't change it with all his racist attitudes. It's a commentary too. Mm-hmm. He's so against them, but it's always been this way. He's so nativist, and yet he keeps taking them in. Has to keep explaining the toilet. Why didn't he change things? But that's government, isn't it? In most
telling
cases.
The same terrible joke 10 times
just
or so.
10 times, yeah.
No, I don't know what it was, but it bombed. It kind of bombed. I laughed.
I actually laughed pretty hard at that.
I want to go back real quick to them in
that smile, though, by the way.
In the test subject room. Mm-hmm. Behind them on the wall says falling objects. Mm-hmm. Which is cute because they're obviously falling for each other, correct? There's the little tension going there, right?
That's a take. Yeah. I like that take.
That's adorable.
But it is.
No, I love Max. I love him.
Hold on a second. I thought you were saying Barv, like Ma June's wife. For a hot second, I'm like, when did she enter the chat? Sorry.
Barv.
Props to Aaron Moten or Moten. I'm not sure how his name's pronounced.
Yeah, Moten. Yeah, you got it.
Props to him for being able to deliver those lines that he delivered in there because he made it believable. Instead of rolling my eyes like, come on, I was like, this is kind of cute, actually. That he's so innocent.
Like a teenage kid.
That
almost.
naive and innocent,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard it explodes.
I mean, not me, but other guys.
Happens to other guys, not me, though. No.
You know. Yeah, not me, though. Yeah.
I died when he said, when they make it move.
Oh my gosh.
It gets all hard and swells up like a pimple. And then
when she comes back later, he's like, this is great. You want to make my cock explode now?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, intercourse.
Wow.
Right, because he takes that information and he imports it into his second attempt at intercourse, where did he get that word from? Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, but it's the first thing he says that was really funny. Do you want to use my cock? I wrote it down. It was just such a particular.
He says, do you mean use my cock?
Yeah.
She says, you should have read the training manual.
That's what Francisco says.
Yeah.
It just leads into what I was saying about he's not educated. So all of his knowledge comes from hearing it from other people and stuff like that. So of course you wouldn't know what having sex means, but you would know the more vulgar way of saying it, because that's
from
what
other squires
hears.
that are just as dumb as he is.
Or aspirants, yeah.
Yeah.
So my first thought when I latched onto this phrasing, until I realized, okay, he's a virgin, but still he's had to, for the guy masturbating in the bunk, the other boys must have at some point, because of the phrasing, the word, you want to use my cock, they must have just... Okay, let me just back it up.
It's gonna get gross right now.
No, because I'm gonna use it. It is gonna get gross. But as a story from my own personal life, I think it was in second grade, and we had sleepovers because you're touching on something when it comes to Maximus being like a teenage boy again, right? And figuring out what this is all about for the first time. It's not unlike when you're in second grade, you're of a certain age, you're still a kid, you don't know what all this stuff is about. You know, you have a penis. The little kids, they want to see each other's penises. They want to know what it's like. So like at sleepovers, that's what happens. I'm sorry to break it to you. But eventually there's that one weird kid that wants to know what the other kid's penis looks like. And it's
Dave, you were that weird kid, weren't you?
No,
Dave
I wasn't.
Yes, you were. That's why you feel the need to tell the story.
Roger was that weird kid. I'm not going to say the last name, but Roger was that. Also a ginger. I don't know if there's a correlation or causation.
Excuse me, lay off gingers.
No, sorry, Roger. This is my lived experience, Rachel. but let me just finish this story. Okay.
Boys are so gross.
Now then again, in retrospect, it's completely innocent because you don't know what that's all about. You just know you have one. Pee-pee comes out of it. That's all you know. Now take that and import that to Maximus and the Brotherhood of Steel and the aspirants and the open masturbation. It's not unusual that eventually they figure out one person, one of the Brotherhood people, one of the aspirants can make the other person's cock explode. So they're just trying things out. Which is why they're both so casual about sex. Lucy in her own way with the cousin stuff, but also Maximus using my cock. He doesn't know that it's like a pleasurable experience.
Dave? Because there's no religion to tell them that it's something shameful.
He does say, I'm a knight, it's not allowed, but I think that's just him.
Yeah, I do too.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
He might have been using it as an excuse because if he's never been with a woman before, then he would be a little afraid to do that, because he immediately goes into it with this degree of like, it's weird what happens with it, and he doesn't want her to like experience that because he's ashamed of it in some kind of way, because again, he doesn't know anything about it. And so
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Hide behind the fact that, we're not allowed.
Yeah. Like, I can't do that. Yeah.
It's easier than I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Why show your cards? You haven't even told her your real name yet, Titus.
Tight ass.
Okay, was it more uncomfortable, this discussion, or watching Alexa Nicenson kiss Ashton Arbob from
Ooh, that's
Morning
a
Cloak?
really good comparison.
Right?
No, this was worse.
Which one takes it, though?
This was worse.
Yes!
Let's move on to something else. Since this is probably the last podcast we're ever going to have.
We are for sure canceled after this. This is worse than eating children.
Arguably correct.
We can all agree on that.
Let's go to Francisco.
Aren't you glad you're here, Francisco? Because when all of this gets cut out.
No, it's not going to cut out. I promise you.
God.
The government caught Charity not watching. Todd Howard, don't worry about the timelines, guys. The bombs fall after New Vegas. Exactly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go too deep on it, but they fudged knowing New Vegas was still there in New Vegas. They just restructured a new timeline just to make New Vegas, in my opinion. I guess we'll see. Jury's not out, I think, right? Right, Bridget, since you saw the rest of it, right? He needs a manual guide to use his dick. And then Francisco laughs at what I was doing and comparing the penises is, my dick is bigger than yours, bro. Conversation of the Brotherhood members, not of second grade Dave. Laughing my ass off. Please keep it in the audio. It's hilarious. As another guy can confirm.
Don't
right,
Francisco.
Francisco, tell me if that happened to you as well, or were you not a social kid that had sleepovers?
I do want to mention something about the timeline, because Francisco said, "Don't worry, because the bombs fell after New Vegas." That's a matter of contention. So on the board, it says the bombs fell in 2277
to mirror basically the fall 2077, 200, like the bicentennial of nuclear fallout.
Right. Okay, so New Vegas actually takes place in 2281. So is the fall of Shady Sands and the bombing separate events? I think the consensus was that they are separate events. I cannot recall where I saw this from. So the fall of Shady Sands is a different thing than the bomb, which comes after that on the timeline that they have on the blackboard. And that would make New Vegas canon still. If the bomb fell in 2277, then it would not line up with the timeline of New Vegas. So they either retconned something and changed it, or they're two separate events that are happening.
It poetic.
Yeah.
And a whole generation is removed from that event. So are they being historically accurate? The blackboard does make it seem like the fall of Shady Sands happens. And like you said, it points an arrow to the nuclear bomb.
Yeah. But interestingly,
so maybe sometime after.
Yeah, there is no date under the bomb. Why would you not date it if it was a separate event? So it's a little murky. We're not sure for sure if it happens after New Vegas, if they're changing something about the timeline of New Vegas. But there's plenty of other things in this episode and later episodes to link it to New Vegas as being part of the story. So I have faith that we're going to see more about it.
Okay. And also to your point, let's just put it this way. Mm-hmm. Shady Sands could have fallen, and the nuke was the residents' response to it. Let's say an invading force comes in and knocks their economy down, their system of government, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Desperate people.
You know, what if also the nuke is a completely unrelated event that occurred after the fall of Shady Sands?
It could be unrelated to, sure. Right. I was just thinking like, oh, it's a perfect response for people who want to get revenge over having been fallen.
Yeah.
Being taken over, let's say.
Yeah.
Is their capital? Is it New Republic's?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the capital. And clearly they had streetcars and electricity and things like that going for them. So they're obviously very well established as compared to the rest of the wasteland.
Which you said, by the way, all of it is manufactured, produced, not using pre-war technology. Correct. This is new stuff.
Yeah, they're building new buildings fresh, not out of a ruin, basically, and not reusing ruined objects to create it.
Right. cars, etc.
Maybe
and
that
stuff.
caviar came from Shady Sands.
Well, maybe.
Didn't we establish that Vault 4 was filled with Cazadors before somebody came in and made it nice again?
Yeah. After the residents of Vault 4 finally decided to leave, down to 54 residents from possibly 400, they left. A Cazador's nest took over, and any of the lore-driven surface world legends of Vault 4 being this heaven on earth was met by every adventurer with death, essentially.
Yeah.
Until
essentially.
Overseer Benjamin's family came in, being the George Washington of Vault 4,
right,
with his one eye and his I'm being racist. It's in the middle of his head. It's slightly to the left.
But most people have one eye.
The readers is what got me. He uses bifocal readers.
Yeah, for his one eye.
I don't know. Yeah.
How does it work? Because if it's right in the middle, wouldn't the bridge of the thing the glasses get in the way of it?
It's slightly to the left. It's slightly to the left.
Slightly.
Yeah. So
it makes all the difference.
So just
the moldy coffee was what got me when he picked up the cup, and he's like, "Oh, I got a moldy one."
No, it was a separate one. He just did a spit take twice.
I thought they were both out of the same blue cup. Maybe it was just me.
A different blue cup. Definitely a different blue cup. But I'll tell you
Why was it moldy?
Because it had been sitting there forever.
I'll tell you.
Why
okay,
is it
so
still
check
there?
this out.
Clean it up.
My friend used to play World of Warcraft. Sometimes I just come over. I know, right? It's like the punchline is already there. Okay. So sometimes I just come over and we do that. I would just watch his ass play World of Warcraft.
Yeah, just
what this
littered
dude
with
did.
Mountain Dew Code Red all around.
That's a gamer. It's a gamer reference. No. Literally coffee. It'd be specific, and I don't know why. But specifically, you go out to 7-Eleven, get a giant, for some reason, cup of coffee, play World of Warcraft forever. And so now he's got coffee cups all over his desk. And eventually, I'm talking to his mom, how do you let him do that? She's like, I don't control this guy anymore. Yeah, so eventually you're going to sip out of a moldy cup of coffee.
Yeah. Because
you're just a 20-year-old whatever. And leaving stuff around, your dirty socks and underwear everywhere. Gross.
Nope.
Dovetails nicely to.
Is this guy married now?
Oh yeah, he's been married for way longer than me. Yeah. He's got his ass together so much faster than me. Because his wife basically takes care of him. What? I'm kidding.
He married another mom.
He married his second mother.
Got a mom.
I'm kidding. He's one of my best friends. I don't know. I'm saying all this, but it's totally like almost a gamer reference. You're playing Fallout till whatever o'clock in the morning. You have 5 cups of coffee from 5 different nights before that you purchased because you're young and dumb from a local coffee shop.
Why Chris Purnell has a cup of moldy coffee at his overseer desk.
It's the same type of thing. Like you just have a collection of cups that you don't get rid of or
that you don't
clean
finish
up.
Too.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got his own experiment going up there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, create penicillin.
I never get sick.
Well, he just ruined it by disrupting the surface.
Yeah, I will say I do like the mugs. I definitely want one of our Squawk Tech mugs now.
Vault Tech mug.
Because they'll look similar, but not as cool. Because we can't steal their IP.
Cease and desist.
I know. So the skull is better though. It's kind of cooler. It's got a little edge to it, even though we don't have any.
I have zero edge.
Yeah, it's all smooth brain.
Yeah.
Smooth.
It's like an egg in there.
His wrinkly ass. All right, let's talk about Pip Boys for a hot sec, because we do happen to see Pip Boys in the past. First, it's in Vault 4. I think we see, the first one there. We see the nerds at the wrap party, and then the very next morning, Barb actually has one as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, Betty Pearson. I'm not getting off of this thing. I think that's Betty Pearson. Oh, you weren't there, Bridget. But yes, I asserted that Betty Pearson is Barb Howard, essentially. Don't confirm that. You rapscallion.
Okay.
You, Bridget, and you, Sharon, don't confirm it. And you, Karina, don't confirm it.
I wasn't gonna.
I will never.
I've been very...
I can only look at Rachel from here on in. Actually, I'm just going to make her big. I'm just going to make her big on my screen. You're all like little boxes in the bottom now.
Listen, I've been very Mikey Satrazemis about this whole situation.
You're very good at it. Wait, hold on. Mikey Satrazemis has screwed the pooch a couple times.
I'm Gimple. I'm
Scott
Gimple.
Be Scott Gimple.
You're Scott Gimple, actually, so that's better.
I did like the product speech that Bartholomew Codsworth gave.
All right, what was his name again?
Sebastian Leslie.
Yes,
Sebastian
Okay.
Seabass Leslie. Yep.
Seabass.
When he was like, you're a product, I'm a product. That is true today. What is your brand? Show me your brand.
It's just not our brand,
It's not on brand. It's off brand.
It's not on brand.
essentially. Well, it's not even products now. It may have been back then, but now it's all about, let's say, a little bit of virtue, but mostly it's about, like you said, it's honestly presence and brand, right? Influence peddling. Who is my source of influence? Who do I follow?
Influencers.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's attention. Sorry, it's the attention economy.
So Cooper is the influencer of his day.
Oh, that is a statement by way of the Vault Tech.
Well, yeah, he's a spokesman.
Okay. At the moment.
In the more traditional sense. Social media and influencers, like that whole concept, has made marketing a little bit sneakier than it used to be. So he's more of the traditional spokesperson. They come out, they say that they like this thing, and it's like, that's obvious that that's what they're doing. Social media has led to influencers being like, I got this thing and I really like it. Trust me.
It's the best. It does wonders. They don't use it at all.
I use this beach waiver every day. Look, it turns on its own. And it doesn't at all catch your hair in its rotation.
Barb is the influencer because she's the one that's like, I've got this Pip-Boy and I really like it. And I gotta get us in the good vault.
I wouldn't say it's Howard. It's Cooper Howard that's the influencer. Does he know that he's the influencer? I don't think so. That's the interesting thing about this whole thing is that he's looking down upon this role. He's looking at this as just an advertisement. But Codsworth is right. Cooper Howard is wandering he's an anachronism of an anachronism, essentially. Francisco says, this has been the best Fallout recording I've watched, guys. We went from heights, dicks, and now coffee with Fallout discussion in between. You guys are amazing.
Francisco,
I appreciate
that's so
that.
nice.
Thank you.
Francisco, I'm gonna be honest, you're basically getting a taste of what we're like at camp when we're all sitting together. Pretty much.
When the cameras aren't rolling.
Right.
Squawking Dead After Dark. Okay.
Except I'm running away every 10 minutes.
It's true.
For one reason or the other.
It's true.
He also says, quote, don't ask questions, just consume product and get excited for next product, quote. That's what reminded me of. We're all products. He can't say anything critical or they give us sponsorship, basically. Cooper Howard, I think. Let's stay on this for a hot sec because Barb and he have a blowout the morning after the rap party, I think it was. And I totally see both sides of this equation. Did you guys pick up on the fact that Barb is basically saying it's a foregone conclusion? This is going to happen. Nuclear fallout is going to occur.
Yeah.
We all picked up on that?
Yes.
Okay. She leaves subtle hints, basically. Oh, it's the best position. I see where she's coming from. I do. I also weirdly, of course, see Cooper Howard's point of view. Whatever happened to freedom? Whatever happened to the wars we fought for freedom?
Well, this brings up the same point I keep bringing up. Everybody wants to be like Cooper. Everybody wants to be the person that would do what was best for humanity and save people. But everyone is inevitably a Barb.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't disagree. That's why it's so hard to, and I like this. I like the tension. And it's the Maximus question all over again. You think you're the hero, but really, aren't you causing a little bit too much trouble?
Yeah.
Really, aren't you settling? And Birdie says this too.
Excuse me? You're telling me I can't take my dog in the vault? No, sorry. Not happening.
I think Cooper was very upset about that. And she was worried about how the kid was going to take it, but really, it's his dog. And he's like, what do you mean I can't take my dog with me? When did this happen?
She brought it up just like that. I also love how she diverted when he was like, I fought a war for the freedom. And she's like, well, I was here too when you were at war. Like totally diverted the conversation. So he was like, oh, you're right. I know you were here by yourself, blah, blah, blah. But
no, I'm totally with her though. She was at home worrying about him, wondering if it was going to, and according to him, he had every reason.
It was like, what aboutism there? Like, well, what about me being home by myself waiting?
For me personally, I don't think those things are comparable. Yes, it would be horrible to be waiting for a loved one to come back from war, but the actually being in the war, I feel like is the more stressful situation.
Right. That's why I feel
honestly.
Like it was what aboutism.
But there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye, because the more you listen to what is happening here, what leads up to this, to eventually the fallout. What if the whole reason for him going to war in the first place was built on a lie as well? And Barb knows this. But at least she has the wherewithal to know a legitimate path forward to keep her and her family safe at this point, because she worked the system, because she moved through that corrupt system. Because sometimes you have to, and this is to Barb's point, sometimes you have to fall on what you can do versus what you can't do, which is save the world, quote unquote, or beat the quest, defeat the game, whatever it's going to be. It's eye-opening. And even though our eyes are only starting to open on what's going on here. And I'll just say one more thing. It's even more interesting, their conversation, because the very night before, who dominates the space in their home? And who is the most talked about in the home? I'll wait.
It's Cooper. It's definitely Cooper.
Right.
His posters are all over the place. People are like, oh my gosh, there he is. He's right there. He's the celebrity, clearly.
Right. Now, Barb takes this in stride. She has no feelings about this whatsoever, and that's fine. What did we say about Betty Pearson in the last two episodes or last episode? Oh, no, I said in the second to last episode as well. She's the overseer. Well, I'm basically calling, sorry, just to refresh, I'm basically calling Barb Howard Betty Pearson. But let's say that is the truth, right? She's the overseer without being the overseer until she's elected overseer in the next episode. The overseer behind the scenes. She's fine with this because she knows, like maybe Cooper Howard thought he knew, that she's keeping her family safe in the end of the day. So it doesn't matter who's the literal poster child of this family. She is keeping her family safe. And that's fine too. Who cares? It's so fascinating to see what one considers themselves a hero in the story. And doesn't matter if you get the accolades.
I think she's jealous of the dog because Cooper loves the dog more than he loves her.
She might be.
No. I think when he heard her plea, he was. Yeah. It was really sweet for him to acquiesce and understand that maybe something's going. Because when she says this is just after Charlie White Knife's conversation. When she says it's the best place for us, the dog can't come to the vault. She says it in such a way Janie's going to be upset when this happens. And it just raises his hackles just after hearing fiduciary responsibility. They don't care about us. And then she says, it's one of the good vaults. That's the thing that turns him on. I heard Karina's voice.
Yeah, she knows what Vault-Tec is planning for the rest of the vaults. And he's like, well, we could just buy our way into a vault. She's like, no, I need us to get into one of the good vaults. One of the ones that isn't going to turn us into a science experiment or something like that.
And manage. She uses the Bud Askins word management. That's the thing. It's time and management. And
Bud
oversees
Askins.
the other vaults. Yeah, Bud Askins. Exactly.
Now that we're talking about Barb, I want to throw my theory out there.
I'm excited.
Barb and Barv sound a whole lot alike. Listen to my reasoning. Listen to my reasoning. They make sure that we hear Barv's name several times in episode 2. They make sure it's said very loudly and very clearly. Also, we have 4 or 5 episodes before we find out Barb's name. There's some space there to kind of forget Barv a little bit before you learn that her name is Barb, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And Barv has no point in the show. She's a character that doesn't have to be there. Other characters have a point to them. The synth in Philly, she's there to fix the part.
Well, the quote-unquote synth, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Right. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Right, the one that fixes Maximus' part.
The people the guys that Max has to fight show that he's progressed and how his fighting skills were learned by getting his butt kicked. What purpose does Barb serve in the show that makes her important enough that we have to know who she is? So what if Barb didn't make it into a good vault and she got into one of the ones where she's a science experiment and she got out and Ma June is protecting her? That's why she's staying there. And that's why Ma June told the ghoul that he wasn't welcome in Philly when he first got there.
That's actually a really good theory. I like that theory.
Thank you.
I wasn't taking it seriously when you first said it, but now that you explained it, I'm like, you know
introduction of they sound alike is like... that's what got me, because it's like, well, yeah, Barf and Barb sound alike too, but...
Well, I confused it as well, and Rachel said it before.
I told you I had reasoning
it hurts to smile
it.
As much.
No, I know. It's an interesting theory at minimum. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's an interesting theory.
Oh, right. Charity, you win the cute person award for just holding that in for 2 weeks when you really didn't need to.
Why? I think it's a good theory. Why couldn't it be possible?
I think it's, listen, valid or not, it's adorable. I know, like literally on the literal sense, it's adorable. Just because it's so cute. Oh, you're not welcome around here anymore, Cooper. I'm this bitch's wife now. Barb, get in here with your cigarellos.
Yeah, your beans.
We know that Majun is a conductor for Moldaver, right?
Oh yeah, like a courier or
right.
like a
she's
smuggler.
She's the one that was helping him try to get to Moldaver. So why couldn't she be somebody who was protecting Barb from the Enclave or from anybody else who might be looking for her?
Yeah, I definitely could see that being a possibility.
I'm on the comic relief side, which is fine by me.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but
I'm wrong. I love that.
It wasn't even that comic of relief. She was in it for 2 seconds. She didn't do anything except bring the foot. That was the only thing she did.
And get yelled at.
Yeah, I mean, Majun could have hobbled around and brought the foot. There's a reason that they wanted us to remember that name so clearly. Otherwise, she has no point as a character.
I still think she has a point as a sort of comic relief for it fleshes out Majun's life. Barb is her world, but they're bickering like an old couple.
Yeah.
And
for a show where everything means something, I just feel like there's a reason she's there and that they didn't give us a reason.
Maybe. I don't know if everything means something, but I do think this is something Karina said. Environmental. One of you said it.
Yeah, environmental storytelling. Yeah,
and sometimes that's in the color of the people, basically.
Yeah,
adding them into sometimes in the foreground, sometimes in the background. Oh, like the guy that was dying next to Cooper Howard while he was eating the tomatoes in the shootout scene in Philly.
Oh my gosh,
it's like a video game. There's NPCs.
Yeah.
And sometimes NPCs have a little bit of story.
Just NPCs.
Sometimes they just say a weird line, and you're like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that's odd.
So you just don't.
Maybe you're not wrong. I would love that to be true. I say this because your point of view is adorable. I think that's just a pinhole into your psyche that I think is adorable.
I'm going to drill harder in on this too and remind everybody when the ghoul was talking to the president and he had that throwaway
of the government.
line.
President of the government.
Right.
Government.
Okay, the president of the government. He had that throwaway line about still looking for her.
For her.
Yeah.
Which means he hasn't found her yet.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't know who her is, but could be Barv. Maybe it's Barv.
Barv. It is Barv.
What a name.
I do think it's interesting that this is one of the few guys that knows him start to finish almost, that knows he's been out there for 200 years. Like there's Roger, who seems to know him quite well up until this point.
Yeah.
But then this guy, Sorrel,
Roger,
knows his story. Looks like he spares him. We don't know what happens after the shootout, but he seems to be okay with him.
Yeah.
Essentially. Like, you keep doing your thing, Sorrel.
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing mine.
His name was Sorrel Booker on the show. Sorrel Brooke was the guy who played Boss Hogg on
He looks
Dukes
like Boss
of Hazzard.
Hogg.
Exactly. I think that was a shout out.
That's
full
crazy.
white
suit.
Yeah, I think that was a shout out because his name was Sorrel Brooke.
Oh,
that's cool.
I love that.
That's a cool Easter egg. Yeah.
It does kind of go in line
close.
with Cooper Howard being kind of like the John Wayne of this
That
universe.
was Roscoe and the other freaking cop who I can't remember his name. Roscoe P. Coltrane, and then I can't remember the other name of the other deputy guy.
Right,
But that was his two deputies.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is kind of, they were kind of modeled that way, weren't they? It didn't occur to me until recently that if you say the first initials of Cooper Howard's name with his last name really fast, what does it sound like? Coward?
What?
Well, just as a narrative building element.
Like C. Howard, if you say it quickly.
Did you know that if you
if you type 8008 on a calculator, it'll spell lube.
Like Charity said not too long ago, everything kind of means something. And oftentimes, like we've done in the past in these shows, so it's not strange. I'm going to beat that out. It's worth it.
He's mad.
Sometimes names mean something. Thank you.
Agreed.
And was he? Maybe. But I wanted to add to some of the conversation that we said about Cooper Howard dominating space.
Coward?
Well,
Sorry.
So here's the thing. I don't think he is. Maybe we'll see later that he might have been, but why do you think he goes to the communist meeting? Is it just because she says we want to end up in a good vault? Maybe. Because at the end of the conversation, he realizes what she's been shouldering this whole time. Maybe. That she has been the hero of the story behind the scenes this whole time while he was away at war. When he came back, rising up the ranks in Vault-Tec, being where she is. Do you think he's trying to be the hero by saving her through this path, possibly of going to the communists?
Maybe he's just trying to find out the truth.
Yeah. I think between the conversation he had with his buddy in the bar, because, you know, he said, why don't you come to one of these meetings and see the company that your wife really works for? Because he doesn't know all the ins and outs. And some of the things that she was saying was probably raising some red flags for him. Like, who is this company that she's working for? They've got her so convinced that this nuclear apocalypse is going to happen.
It's almost a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, like he goes just to see what it's about. And it turns out that's the first time he meets Moldaver, which a whole other thing. How is she still alive if, you know, this was 200 years ago and she's not a ghoul?
And we see the existence of cryopods.
She was
so that makes sense.
frozen.
That's my theory.
Like
I feel
Elsa.
like that's the most likely.
Elsa wasn't frozen.
No.
Yeah, the cold never bothered her
saying.
anyway, Dave.
Yeah.
She came out singing,
Even though she's the
"Let me
flame
go, let me go."
Yeah.
I'm asserting also that I think there's a part of Cooper Howard that now that he knows a little bit of the truth, that he thinks he can save her from that binary or foregone conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
That this is the only way, according to Barb. He's like, well, there has to be something I can do. I'm realizing there's a truth that I've uncovered both about Vault-Tec and my wife's saving us, essentially, or trying to save us the only way she knows how, which is what some people say. And so he's like, I can't let her shoulder that doom prophecy, let's say. Well, and it's what Charlie says in the bar. He says, unless the people do something about it. Mm-hmm. So maybe he feels like he can do something about it.
He probably feels some level of responsibility by taking the paycheck and being the spokesperson.
So he's in his own way complicit.
Yeah, so I think that's what it leads to. Yeah, sure, he loves his wife. He doesn't want to do that. But I think, again, this is this idealized hero thing. I want to be able to save everybody. It's not how anybody actually acts in these situations. But bravo.
Yeah. I think he also maybe has this sense of, not entitlement, but maybe he feels like he can open some doors that other people can't because of his fame and celebrity. If she doesn't see a way out of it, maybe he can figure out a way out of it by using his influence.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And whether he's being naive about it or not, he's being naive. We know that. We know that from our perspective. We know that there's no way to beat the system because the fallout ends up happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Well, you have to see it through his eyes pre-war.
He don't know that.
Yeah. He doesn't know for sure that it's going to happen. He doesn't know he's about to become a ghoul for the next 200 years. He doesn't know for sure. Any of this is for sure.
Just think about it. You're going to be a ghoul.
Think about it. Going to be
look at the werewolf behind you. God, you're so stupid. Why can't you hear it breathing down your neck? I hate the audience.
Okay.
I hate the audience.
This audience member has got to go. I am not okay. I am not okay right now.
Oh, sorry.
I profusely apologize.
You're the Barb of this episode, basically.
Well, no, I've had to miss recordings and stuff, which is very unlike me. I usually make every recording. So this has just been unusual.
I bear a little responsibility for that too. Just making the decisions and stuff.
I got some sort of crap from camp.
The con.
Yeah. Con crud, as everyone refers to it.
It's real.
Yeah. And it's bad. Love you guys.
Feel better, Bridget.
So sorry that I'm feel
better.
crappy.
Feel better.
And I'll see some of you this next weekend. Believe it or not.
Next weekend. Yeah.
Say goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye, audience. Good night, Bridget.
Good night, Moon.
Well, I thought he was going to be like, say good night, Bridget. Good night, Bridget.
Good night, Bridget.
Good night, John Bridge.
Good night, Bridge T.
All right. You
Love
guys have
you.
fun. I'll see you soon. Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Let's take a break. Let's talk to Francisco. So basically, he says, quote unquote, they took our jobs. They took our jobs. Cooper Howard, essentially. The women, actually. So she was at home cooking mac and cheese while Cooper was fighting the Reds. Barb is also a raider in Fallout 76. Ah ha 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 ha. Interesting. Love seeing that super mutant in the most wanted papers. I thought I looked more like a ghoul, but I wasn't 100% certain. But then again, it could have looked like a caricature of a super mutant or a mutant. In the wanted posters in the president of the governor's office. Government.
It was Deputy Enos, by the way. That was on Dukes of Hazzard. Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane and Deputy Enos. E-N-O-S.
Well, it's funny because the guy, I think, that was hounding the ghoul, his name was Ethan, I think. Mm-hmm. So it was close. Cooper doesn't know he's going to suck from a flask and eat ass jerky for the next 100 years. Mm-hmm. See, he don't know what he don't know.
Yeah.
He didn't read the manual, the Fallout game manual, right. Essentially.
You know what he's getting in for.
So speaking about knowing what you're getting into, I did love very much so that you encounter Moldaver again, both in the present and in the past at the same time, vis-a-vis Cooper Howard's communist meetup at Hollywood Forever, which is in fact a thing. Yeah. It's an actual place.
Well, his car was freaking awesome.
Yeah, nuclear powered electrically, basically.
Did you see the doors, the way the doors open? The door opened and slid up into the front of the car. Man, that was so cool.
So cool. Like Star Trek.
Dennis told me what kind of car it was, but I don't remember now.
Well, but the doors didn't slide that way.
No, that was a real thing. That was a real car.
That was a real thing?
Yeah. What?
I never heard of that. That's interesting.
Crazy.
I thought it was like a Thunderbird or something.
Well, yeah, it does look like a Pontiac.
Body, like the convertible style.
Yeah, because they used to make those small,
obviously
Chevy-ish looking convertible. Not always convertible, but sometimes. But smaller cars, which is not usual for the time, by the way. Just big steel cars used to be. But then you also meet her, sort of, or the image of her, the Flame Mother, in the present with Lucy's bizarro experience. Just going back to that for a hot sec.
Yeah. I love how they all just invite her, like, why don't you just come on and join us? Like, they're not going to strip down and pour blood all over themselves.
Totally normal. Yeah, like, absolutely a normal thing.
I have some questions about this because when they invited Lucy, they said, it's something we do for new people.
It's something the surface dwellers do.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, it's a little too rowdy for me or something like that.
Rambunctious.
Yeah, a little too rambunctious,
yeah. I misunderstood what he said. I thought they were doing this for newcomers or something like that. And I'm like, she is the newcomer. And then I got really scared because he mentioned surface people. And I was like, oh, Lord, they're going to sacrifice Maximus. Like there is some drugs. There are some drugs in that food. Right. He is going to come out naked on a table and they're going to be like chanting and like carrying him through. And like, I got really worried for Maximus in that moment.
Thought they were going to be eating some ass jerky.
So yeah. It's weird how
yes.
I don't know about you, but did it not feel a little bit strange that from the beginning you thought that already? Mm-hmm. Oh, they got sucked into a trap. They ended up in a vault. What else would they be doing with it? Then you find out, oh, that's what they do. They take in people from the outside, obviously, because Shady Sands, they're refugees, blah, 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 racist Benjamin. Then you feel fine.
Right.
But then you get to the end and it turns out you were right all along. Maybe. Yeah. We don't know yet. Maybe because of, here's the progression of this ceremony. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Okay, you're thinking, strange. So was Lucy. Strange, and I want to fit in. She's smiling and then she realizes the other people aren't smiling and she goes, okay, no, serious whoosh.
Serious whooshing.
But see, I want to walk you through. This is exactly like the meeting the farmer guy. Yeah. She's trying to walk away. And he keeps calling her and she keeps going, no, thank you. Same thing. Then it's, oh, we're smearing things on our forehead. Oh, it's our dead relatives and neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's meaning to fine.
She's less okay with that.
Yeah.
And then you get, because there are words.
Then they get naked.
Then even the naked part, she's going like she zips down halfway and then she goes, no, it's fine.
It's like somebody going, hey, loosen up, and they just undo the top button on their shirt. You know? She just slightly zipped it down. She's like, yeah, that's good enough.
That's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's still on board. Fine, whatever. And okay, then I just want to bring up, because I wrote down what they said. Flame Mother, we remember.
They were speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, so Birdie comes out during the smearing part, because then I'm like, why are they doing that? I forgot. Smearing the ashes on the forehead. She says it, they repeat it. Flame Mother, we remember. Bring back the past as we remember. We bring back Shady Sands as we remember. We bring back those taken from us. All fine so far. Lucy's like with the nakedness and the smear, whatever. By covering ourselves in their ashes. And so she's like, oh, okay. She's okay. To bring back Shady Sands, blood must spill. Then it's just like, what is happening? There's this lady was naked, drinking the blood. It's spilling down outside her mouth and onto her boobies and stuff like that. That's
blood
fine.
Is that?
What's so funny to me,
I want to know.
Obviously, people who are in the vault have been to that before. They're just like, oh, they just do it all the time. And nobody's like, wait a minute, you guys are saying blood has to spill. Whose blood? And
right.
Yeah.
Is it ours? I mean, what's going on?
See, and that's when I was like,
check, please.
Well, convinced that Maximus was going to die. Like, they're going to spill his blood.
Right. And you're led to that precipice again because we thought that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, they're going to eat them. Cannibalism exists. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
You might get sick from it unless you have the perk. Remember?
Right.
Okay, so. But I said maybe because Birdie says something very interesting. It all looks weird to you until you visit the other guy's vault, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure if we visited your vault and saw you have this casual
having
thing
a
with
picnic.
your cousins, ew.
Yeah.
You're effing your cousins casually, even though it's frowned upon. But it's not a. If you did that in this world,
I don't think they're doing it in front of the entire community, though.
But they know.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
But they know.
But no one has to see it. You don't talk about it.
I get it. But if we did that here, even if you knew, you wouldn't talk about it and you wouldn't spread it around. It's not socially acceptable whatsoever.
These people are getting naked with each other.
Right.
Like everybody. All.
But you should see the other vault. That's Gary. I mean, come
Gary.
Right?
No, I'm hanging with Gary.
So
crazy Gary.
Let me just steer it back.
Yeah.
You might kill me.
Maybe. What if there's a perfectly rational explanation for, first of all, the video she watches as she goes to level 12, just to prove give some proof to Maximus that this is not a great place to be in. Outside of the fact that Moldaver is the flame mother for this vault, and they're worshiping her, which seals the deal about blood being spilled, she being the flame mother. Yeah. People are drinking blood, maybe.
It's clearly a cult, just like he said,
Then you go to level 12. Video playing of a woman giving birth to fish that subsequently eat her.
Were those gulpers?
Yeah, when she walks in, she walks past a gulper, and then she gives birth to something that looks like a gulper. Well, gulpers. From what we saw of the gulper, they don't really have teeth, right? They have fingers. Right. Would you be able to draw blood with that? Maybe.
Yeah.
But what they kind of look like a little bit more is a creature in New Vegas called a gecko. Self-explanatory. It's a gecko. But they have sharp teeth, and they're sort of shaped the same way. Now, I don't know how amphibious they are, because clearly these are being birthed in water and everything else. So it draws a parallel for me because I felt like maybe it's a gulper, and more than likely it's probably a gulper. But
have you ever felt a baby's fingernails?
Yes.
If those are little baby fingernails in there,
they're like razor blades.
Right. Yeah, that definitely.
They had to have
Did it have nails, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. No, that's a good point.
But you're not off base in bringing up the gulper again to echo Sharondy. Why would that be there if not for the fact that it has some connection to the women giving birth to fish?
Yeah.
Why be there at
creatures,
all?
Yeah.
The women in the cryopods happen to be pregnant. And if I remember correctly, just to give it some sort of realism to our world, so many people in the 90s talked about cryostasis. And again, it's not that crazy that Fallout starts as a gaming series in the late 90s after several years of shows or conversations, sci-fi, talking about using cryostasis as a means to freeze people until such time that they can be healed from certain diseases. So what if the people that happen to get pregnant in this vault have this condition? And it's not that they're doing this, it's that they're thinking there's a birth defect with the residents of this vault. And they happen to give birth to these fish gulpers, maybe things, and they need to solve this problem. That's why all these pregnant women are on ice, essentially. And it's not a nefarious thing more than it is them trying to save these women. We're assuming that this is nefarious because it's scary and there's music in the background alluding to it. And Doctor knows, why does he have a nose in the middle of his forehead? Scary, racism. Why is the eye in the middle of his forehead? By the way, he's credited as Dr. Nose, so I'm not making
hilarious.
That at all.
It just makes me think of James Bond, because that was the first James Bond movie, was
Dr. No. With the nose.
Dr. Nose.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
It's reasonable to assume that the show would subvert expectations in that way, even though there's the Flame Mother, which is obviously a thing that we'll find out about at some point, because Sorrel actually makes mention of this too. Moldaver happens to be the Flame Mother. Dangerous is what I wrote in my notes, but I'm not even reading them right now. Just this memory. Do you think this is a subversion of expectations and Birdie's completely innocent, even though this looks super weird?
I don't know. I'm really the only one that can answer that, right? Because everyone else already knows.
Yeah, I'm only looking at you too, by the way. I'm just like this.
The early birdie gets the worm.
We're the only ones who really can participate in this conversation.
I don't know. This was one of those scenes where I just was like, what the F? I need answers. Yeah. I'm not even going to like begin to speculate. I just need to know.
They do dump a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
Too,
it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Which, by the way, for a long episode too, which is fine. It's good that it was a long episode because then I could wait. But if this episode was only 40 minutes, it would be hard for me not to want to watch the next episode. I will say there's a lot of build up to that moment, making you fine with this vault. And then you get to the end. And yes, it is long, which helps.
When were you fine with this vault? Because I was already screaming at Maximus not to get that shot. I'm like, don't take any injections from them. And then they go to their little picnic thing and they're noticing all these deformities. And I'm like, Maximus is going to wake up tomorrow with an extra ear on his back or something.
I did think that, by the way. Because I'm thinking they're looking at this. Are we going to end up this way?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then Maximus doesn't really say anything about that. He's kind of correcting her. We're kind of reacting
it's normal.
like, yes, exactly.
Where he's from.
Exactly. Well, it was a little to the left, but it was in the middle in his face.
Yeah.
And she's looking at the woman with the blue eyes and the gills, I think it was, or something to that effect. And he's not reacting to it.
And the glowing eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the glowing blue eyes, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Blue eyes isn't unusual. Glowing blue eyes is.
It's the X-Men vault.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Real.
Mutants, yeah.
I wanted to actually touch on one thing when you said the shot. The bullet that they happen to take out of Maximus is an interesting callback to the third episode. Yeah. When we had said errantly, oh, what if people use teeth as ammunition?
Yep.
And that's why they need a dentist / barber to release the humors and the ammunition.
Yeah, clearly that was accurate. And teeth.
Who said that though? I think it was Sharon D, right?
I don't remember. You asking me to remember something that long ago?
I know I'd written it in my notes, but somebody said it first. Francisco says, the cult reminded me of those neo-pagan rituals. If anyone ever saw any of them online, they always tend to have nakedness and plenty of blood. I thought the same thing. And Flame Mother isn't all that far off of a thing to maybe perhaps worship, whether it be legend or literal, because it's interesting because Moldaver is out in the surface. She's in what they refer to as the S-hole. I can't say it, but the S-H-I-T hole. That's where she is. That's where the rendezvous point was. And wait a second. There's some balls in the air that we lost track of as of the last episode. Who has the head? Thaddeus.
Thaddeus has the head. Yep. Okay.
The Brotherhood is looking after the target too. And now they have it technically, maybe, because we haven't seen Thaddeus in a while. Well, he has a crushed leg and he's trying to walk back home, essentially all the way back home to wherever that is. I'm wondering if it makes it. And I know we'll get to see him again because I didn't get spoiled, but when I was looking for images of Thaddeus for the blog, it was episode 3 or 4. I saw some stuff from future episodes. That isn't enough to make me watch the rest of the show. Thank you. Sometimes you just have to keep these inside your body and suffer.
That's what I say to the person who posted the stupid spoiler.
Well,
just keep it in.
Yeah, just keep it inside, in your body, in your head, body. Oh, I forgot the most important thing, guys. Remember when Karina said there's a number on the screen to reserve your vault?
Yes.
That number happens to be 21325 vault. Well, if you text that number, here's exactly what it says, minus some legalese, because it is a text message for real, and you can subscribe to these text messages, which I did.
Yeah.
So I'll just include the first part. Thank you for texting Vault Tech. The next available appointment is in 33 weeks, which is what Karina said. Please stand by, which is a thing they say in the games. But wait, what if you call this number? Well, I did.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Okay. And here's what you get. Yeah, that's it.
It was very dramatic.
That's all you get.
Just screaming. Wow.
Sounds like someone stepped on a Lego.
Oh, Lego.
Like a room where the floor is dropped individual Legos.
just one Lego. If you've ever stepped on just one Lego. Or dried Play-Doh.
Ow.
On your carpeting.
Oh, that's like literally clay.
Yeah.
I love that his dog's name was Roosevelt.
Oh, yes.
It says a lot about him.
And he was also the dog that was in the movie with him. A man and his dog.
He said he used his own dog.
Yeah, a man and his dog.
I just can't shake. This is going to a thing that you guys had mentioned. I forget who it was exactly. I think it was Bridget. Bridget said she talked to a friend and said, I don't know how Cooper Howard isn't the protagonist of the show. And in terms of tragic stories that is shaping out right now, it's sort of true. I think Cooper Howard has the rug pulled out from underneath him in many ways, even as he goes deeper, it seems like. The John Dory effect. He thinks the world is the way it is, and it's exactly as it appears. But then he realized he didn't know which way was up. I feel like he's seeing that now, kind of like John in The Key. But at the end of the day, even as he digs deeper, he still doesn't really know what's going on, I feel like. And that is sad. And this is coming from an adult from the past who thought he knew better, who thought he was the hero of his own story, probably, until he finds out he's somewhat complicit with the ads. Then what do you do? When you find that there's nothing left to do, probably, we don't know yet, but he says, what about freedom? Was there ever freedom?
Yeah.
Isn't that earth-shattering?
Yeah.
To know that you never had freedom? He doesn't know yet. He's still operating under the premise that, well, there's got to be some freedom somewhere, even if I have to conspire with communists to get it. That's super sad. I'm only looking at Rachel.
Well, and
yeah.
What you said before about he possibly went to war and almost died and watched his friends die.
Because of a design flaw.
Yeah. For what, ultimately?
Was it a test?
Yeah. Is this a foregone inevitable thing that's going to happen? Has been fighting this whole time to keep it from happening, fighting the commies and the Reds. Does any of that even matter at this point? If this nuclear war is inevitable.
Oh, I hate this theory that's brewing in my head right now. I hate it so much because I'm thinking, well, let's back up. Remember the theory I had about, what if no bombs were the first mover? What if infrastructure crumbled or somebody nudged a little button somewhere and something went off, which caused everything to go off? Mm-hmm. Let me add to that. And I hate it so much. All the talk about what if the Cold War, as everybody knew it, mostly except for some people, was completely manufactured. What if, to dovetail very nicely to the Cowboys and Indians movies that Cooper Howard and Charlie Whiteknife were in, oh, but listen, you played that man with dignity. It's all theater, right? At the end of the day, you have this beautiful home in Tarzana. Well, what if the Reds and the Americans, that was all theater too? That there's a deal between these two. Let's just keep this war going perpetually. And the conflict itself is the smokescreen in the attempt to acquire more things, acquire more sub companies, corporations to grow bigger. I hate this because it's funny to a point, and then you realize it's that hyper realism. But if we don't watch out, it could happen in our time. If it could sneak up on us at any time, I hate it so much.
Yeah,
I hate it. I mean, it's compelling, no doubt, that these countries would conspire to be, oh, you're the enemy, but realize they're like, okay, let's make some money.
Yeah,
let's pretend there's a war so that we can acquire more wealth.
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial for both of us and all of our companies involved with building
and
stuff for us.
It's distracting, right?
Yeah.
People thrive on conflict in general, but when there's a war, it's like, well, we have to choose sides, don't we? And then we can gulper you in the background. You can digest you slowly in the background.
Gulper you.
And before you know it, you're eating, but you didn't know it. Sorry. It just bothers me.
That's the frog in the
boiling
pot.
Yeah.
Analogy, yep. You crank the temperature up a little bit at the time. You crank it down,
Isn't that kind of what 1984 was about? The perpetual war to keep everybody in there. It was basically perpetual war, so there was always an enemy.
Right, and then because of it, emergency powers, new McCarthyism creeps up. People don't like to relinquish power. We got a taste of that McCarthyism in the third episode, I want to say it was. Something to that effect where he was like, oh, you're doing God's work. Thumbs up. We realize that actually wasn't him responding to McCarthyism so much as it actually is him, probably.
Yeah.
The cowboy in him, essentially. Which it's interesting to hear also, little background should be mentioned, that he probably was a cowboy-ish person, maybe growing up. And then he just became this actor who plays a cowboy.
I think that accent is real. That's just his normal speaking voice. So
I think he's perfected it, and then he's reverted it in the Ghoul.
Yeah. 100%.
So it'll all fly.
My New Vegas connections. All right. We're going back to where Lucy is looking in the classroom and she holds up the New California Republic flag with the two-headed bear. The music that is playing there is the New Vegas theme music for the opening title of the game.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
It is
like
in
a national
other
anthem.
Yeah, it is in other Fallout games. It's in Fallout 4 as well, but it's very iconically the New Vegas theme song. Our buddy Sebastian Leslie, Seabass, mentions that Robco bought his studio. Robco was founded by Robert House, or Mr. House.
Mr. House. We got that connection. Gotcha.
Yeah, so, and Robco had a habit of buying up a bunch of properties. So he owned just a short list. First of all, Robco is a multi-billion-dollar robotics and software company, just so we know what that is.
Same ones that made the terminals.
Yes. Terminals, they make iBots, Sentrybots, Protectrons, Stealth Boys, Pit Boys, and turrets. They partner with General Atomics, or the General Atomics are the ones who make the Mr. Handies. They often partner with those on military contracts. So they have a connection with each other.
And Vault-Tec partnered with Robco, I think?
Yes, for the Pit Boys.
And which they included the same integration software in the vaults for the terminals, essentially.
Correct.
Something to that effect.
You know, he didn't buy them up, but they were working together a lot. But he does also own Nuka-Cola, interestingly. Oh. Yeah, he also owns the Lucky 38 Casino and Hotel in New Vegas, pre-war.
Gotcha.
That's a huge... It's also in New Vegas. Spoiler alert.
Somebody got a cryo sleep.
Oh, whoops. Well,
Mr.
I don't think it's a spoiler because this is very much involved with the game, and it is not involved with anything that we see in the show. But Mr. House does survive into the current timeline. Yeah, he's a part of New Vegas, and the way he does that, he enhances his physical body, I'm assuming with robot parts. It doesn't really specify per se.
Would be...
it makes sense, right?
Not unironic.
And then he
double negative
places that in a life support device so that can stay alive. And then he directly wired his brain into a supercomputer. So it's very similar to the main bad guy from the first Fallout game, which I never played, but he's like basically a living computer as well.
A brain in a vat.
Mm-hmm.
He can make robot bodies of himself, essentially.
Yeah, the reason that New Vegas survives all of the blasting is because Mr. House set up a defense system and wired himself into this defense system, this supercomputer, to help protect it. So
he's literally Mr. House.
He's literally the house. He's the house of Lucky 38.
And the house of the casino.
Yes, so exactly. The casino house.
Triple entendre.
Yeah. And so there's so many connections to New Vegas. It makes me so excited, this episode specifically, because arguably it's the best of all of them. And it's the one that, as I said in the beginning, what we weren't sure it was canon. And this is sort of feeding it to us like, Vegas, it's New Vegas. Like, it's definitely part of the canon. Yeah, like, look at all these things that are involved. Robco and all these other subsidiary companies are so interwoven throughout everything that's going on in this story that it felt difficult not to mention that, at least, and how that could potentially affect how things are playing out.
Right, because at the top, the big umbrella is the, I'm going to say it. I'm not looking at it, but it is the Enclave. But anyway. All right, well, let me go to Francisco before I go back because I want to add to what you said.
Okay.
Because I would have hated myself had I not included this, but it's a thing we do often, and it's in newspapers. But let's go to Francisco for a second. The Blue Eyes dweller that Lucy is staring at as she passes her by, and she says, sorry. He says, looks like a synth to me. Okay, let's hold that. He says, oh God, I have no idea what he's talking about now, but let's see. Nope, he hit his toe on the corner of the bed. Oh, the screams. That's when he's saying, oh God, because of the voicemail. Okay. That is a death scream moment. Mr. House, big New Vegas connection. And then he mentions, I know what this is, but for some reason I can't remember. It's because it's not Fallout, I don't think, but Richard Moreau, a.k.a. The Master, which was It's from Doctor Who. Yeah, that's right.
From Doctor Who. Yeah, the Master.
Thank you. I know I read up on this in some other context. Thank you. My goodness. Okay.
I wasn't sure that's what it was, but that's what I thought it was.
So. Oh, thank you. No, that is what it is. Cool. All right, let's go back to the newspaper because it's something that you might miss if you hadn't paid attention because it adds to what you're saying. So Cooper Howard's paper next to the Vault-Tec ad of him in it, with the thumbs up, is Nuka-Cola walks back, new Nuka. Cool ad, but it goes to the Robco thing you were talking about. They must have tried out a bunch of things. New Nuka had not worked out quite as they had planned. Front page of the paper of the Capitol Post reads, Reds losing territory. And the subtitle is More Troops Deployed to Far East. Yeah. Later on in the bar, they mentioned uranium depletion, which affects power, basically. And whoever controls energy basically owns the nuts, essentially, in terms of political dominance across the world, essentially. It's what we have today, the petrodollar. So the side title reads, Wilson Automatoys face lawsuit over Giddy Up Buttercup. I thought maybe you would know what that is.
I do,
Karina.
Yeah. It's like a little mechanical toy horse, that you can... Yeah, it's like a kid's toy, but it's like a metal one. So I'm sure that possibly potentially hazardous to children.
Well, even gamers, as they jump on it for fun and they realize it's dangerous.
Mostly you collect parts of it to like use as scrap to build other things because they have a lot of useful parts in them. Also notoriously very heavy for some reason. Well, because it's a solid metal horse. So
So there's a bit of a penalty in your bag? Is that what it is?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Okay. So there's one, I don't remember the name of the location. It's swarming with super mutants, but it's a Giddy Up Buttercup factory. And so you can get a lot of these parts, and it's quite a feat to take them all back to one of your settlements. You usually have to make 2 or 3 trips because you can't carry them all at once. Move. Yeah. Also, the super mutants. Well, you need a squire to carry it around for you. So
in their golf bag.
Yeah. A giant oversized golf bag.
That's why they're there. See, at least the Brotherhood's doing something right. There's a logic to their...
You need an NPC or a companion to carry your stuff around for you.
Exactly. I'm glad that was actually a thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Because this is another thing that some people have mentioned of the show, and it's that they watch it over again to see all the things they did notice but didn't understand the relevance of until later on, so that when we go back, they're like, oh, so many Easter eggs to things to come the rest of the season. So I'm trying to pick up on them now.
I can tell you without spoiling anything that the scene, so during the credits they always show a landscape or scene. Yeah, that is an Easter egg for episodes to come.
I think it's the very next episode called The Radio.
Probably.
Then you realize that all the end credit scenes in some form or fashion are an allusion to the very next episode.
Yes.
Which you wouldn't know it at the time. You're like, oh, well, this is pretty and nice and cool and illustrative. But then you realize, okay. It wasn't until this one I realized, oh, yeah, wait a minute. It's a hint about the next episode, which is kind of a cute little burgeoning television thing. Like, well, in the next episode, our hero goes to this thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really happen the way they depict it because they're still filming it.
I'm right there with you because this is the first time that I noticed that also. I was like, oh, wait, that happens later. So that gives me even more excitement because of the end credit scene for the very last episode. And that's all I'll say about it.
Then what episode is next? Because there is none.
Yeah, exactly. So it must be alluding for the next season. So I'm very excited about it. So
it's kind of dastardly to even suggest.
I know
an end credit scene for the last episode because that's mean.
I know.
It's mean.
Like, wait.
But it also makes an interesting assumption that, well, and this is something we could comment on now that we know about it. Well, they must have filmed even more of these episodes than we're getting in this first season, maybe, unless they call it a continuation of the season.
Right.
Perhaps.
If they do like 1.5 or something like that,
yeah, or just episode 9 of the season.
Just suddenly drop 5 more episodes. I would love it.
It's a mid-season break.
Yeah,
essentially.
Exactly.
They didn't say anything. Oh, well, let's describe what the end credit scenes depict because it's obviously a radio station. KPSS, I think it is.
I think so.
I've got to go, guys. I will see you guys later. Bye, audience. Bye, Francisco.
Good night.
I will see you guys in the next episode.
Yay.
Bye.
Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, and she lives like an hour from anything.
Oh gosh,
so she has to be up at 7 or at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is KPSS. It starts off with the Fiddlesticks Vault Boy album, and his thumbs up, his actual thumb in the thumbs up caricature, is an American flag.
Yeah.
And the other is a violin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's their American flag with the single star in the center.
Yeah.
So do you have any insight on that, first of all?
Beyond what occurs in the episode where the radio station exists, radio stations are a common location in many Fallout games. The radio station on your Pip-Boy is a common thing. So it's an integral part of your gaming experience, but beyond saying anything about what happens in the episode that it's alluding to, no. I don't have anything for you.
That's fine. I'm happy to wait. I just thought it'd be like a gaming thing and not relevant to the... Okay, fine.
Not necessarily. I mean, tangentially, but not directly.
For the readers of the blog, what we didn't include in the episode where Karina mentions Three Dog is that the voice of Three Dog in the games, and this is just for you who says, I don't care about the blog. Screw the blog. Who cares about it? Well, maybe you're right, because I'm going to give it to you now. The voice of Three Dog is Tay. He's the voice of Chocolate Rain. If you remember what Chocolate Rain was, it was a phenomenon in the mid to early 2000s. He did this very bizarre original song.
David?
Chocolate Rain.
Oh my God.
And it's a song he made.
Wow.
Pretty close.
But he has this unnaturally deep voice. But eventually, of course, he gets this fanfare. He gets this this is like a viral sensation. Kind of like, what's his name? She Bangs on
William Hung.
Yes, William Hung. And he was everywhere after that for the next 7 years, everywhere, which God bless him. Whatever, take it and run. Who cares? Tay Zonday is the voice of Three Dog in the games.
Which I didn't know that.
And I think
I just know Three Dog is the best. Three Dog is the best.
And you have an extra reason for why that is. So I included a link to the video that Tay Zonday makes in his channel, in which he got the viral sensation Chocolate Rain. He talks about his voice role on the games.
Nice.
And he starts out by saying, you know that Three Dog? I went into his radio station and I threw a mini nuke in it. And then he goes into like, that's me. And then he tells you the process of how he found that particular voice too, which I thought is kind of cool. So you can see the blog for that episode. I think it's episode 3. It's an embedded video. Check it out. It's kind of amusing because you dropped it, you loved it, and then I looked into it, and then I found that. I was actually trying to find the GTA 3 compilation of Laszlo, and then I stumbled upon this. I'm like, what? Yeah. Forget that. Yeah. I'm going to include this. It's just such a cool, fun factoid for people who grew up in that time, that early days of the of YouTube, basically, essentially.
And Bethesda has a real penchant for getting either really famous actors like Liam Neeson, Sean Bean, Patrick Stewart for their voice acting. And of course, they would get a viral sensation to do something for this as one of their voices. So it makes perfect sense for what Bethesda likes to do.
With a velvet fog-like voice, essentially.
Yeah, somebody really, really recognizable. I'm surprised they haven't had Matt Berry, to be honest. Like,
as a radio DJ or something?
Yeah, or anything, any character. Codsworth, actually. Liam Neeson plays your father in Fallout 3. Yeah, he's your father in Fallout 3. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What if you have like very low intelligence? I've heard like people will mess around with their stats just to see how the game progresses.
Is very responsive to low intelligence characters. They'll get frustrated with you really easily.
I actually saw a video of this too.
Yes,
what if you turn down your intelligence to the one level?
The worst,
And it's so funny.
It
is. Because every character you talk to will either be like super, like you'll end up with some of those nice vault dwellers where they're like very patient with you. Yes, they understand you. You don't understand you. It's all because you have such low intelligence. It's so funny, Rachel. I'm literally being literal right now.
Yeah.
It's it's grunts. It's like Daryl, but worse. It's like Daryl who had brain damage.
Oh no,
really bad.
Whatever. We're tangenting so hard right now.
Yeah.
The next episode is called The Radio, and so that's how we find out about the end credit scenes. Outside the radio station, in this illustration for the end credit scene, you see skeletons in bear traps, so you know what's up.
Yeah.
They got caught up. No visitors, no solicitations sign, or no requests. No request signs.
No requests. Yeah. Don't ask for anything. Yeah.
You listen to what you listen to.
Yeah, exactly. You listen to what I play.
Yeah, exactly. I'm playing this. Too bad, so sad.
My playlist.
Francisco says the stream was so chaotic, only 3 people survived. Somebody's got to say it.
Rock it off.
Still waiting to hear Ron Perlman in the TV series, which they gotta get him. They gotta get him because he is the original first voice that intros the first Fallout game. We said this in the Discord, which you can join too.
Yes.
If you happen to tip us, you'll have Discord access forever. If you join a membership tier, you can get more channels in our Discord, essentially. But I leave it to you. You don't have to do it. You don't do anything. But then again, you're missing out on all the fun.
Cooper's ad at the beginning is the most Fallout thing I think I've ever seen in my life. That whole black and white ad where he's like narrating, like that's so on brand for how the game feels. It's just perfect.
Oh, Karina, thank you. Because that was the one thing that I mentioned from the very first episode. If you didn't notice, yes, it literally looked like that because that first scene, that opening scene, the black and white scene with Cooper Howard walking around the vaults is filmed in 4:3. Your screen is at the very top and at the very bottom, but it's cut off on the sides like an old television. You with me so far? And then when they go cut, the screen turns back into anamorphic. You see it. You can see it slowly stretch out and go into the letterbox format, basically, because no TV. Well, some TVs are like that. It's called anamorphic widescreen, but the measurements are either 21:9 or 22. Who cares? 2.23 by 1. Nobody says that. No. I'm eager to see other places where that ends up happening, but I was hoping it would happen in an actual, it's like a live scene, but it's not going to happen. It's fine. It's okay. Oh, well, there is one thing. You mentioned the song, which I hadn't noticed, and I wouldn't be able to because I hadn't played the games.
Oh, yeah, the theme song, yeah.
But what was behind the flag?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't even know. I wasn't paying attention.
Poster.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
A poster of a soldier for the NCR, and it says, join the NCR, sign up today. And then I wrote in my own notes, expansion much?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like their own Uncle Sam for this age, this nation that rapidly developed, essentially, and was burgeoning to become this superpower, let's say, and maybe threatening to do the whole thing over again like we did before.
Yeah. Taking over everything at a rapid rate. And
I thought you would have noticed that first, though, the poster.
I was distracted by the flag and the song. I was like, oh, I literally got goosebumps. Chill ran down my spine. I got goosebumps. I was like, oh, that's the theme song.
Isn't the soldier on the cover of New Vegas?
Yes. So it's the NCR similar soldier.
To the power armor versions of the cover.
He's holding a rifle. He's got the red goggles and the helmet. Yes, that is an NCR soldier.
It's flashing on the screen right now. It's exactly it. And, well, actually, I'll put them side by side too. I'll put the poster and I'll put the cover for Fallout New Vegas side by side. Sorry, audio people, or you can go to the blog, audio people, and then you can see for yourself if you have an aversion for video. Why am I yelling at the audience? Oh! One more thing. Whose finger is the ghoul putting on?
It's Lucy's.
It's not his.
It's Lucy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's amazing that he can just graft it on and it becomes fine.
That is the main takeaway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially considering it's not his own. For some reason, if it was his, it would make sense. But since it's not, it's like, huh?
Well, it kind of does if you really think about it, right? Because what was in the last episode, but ghoul organs. Yeah, they could do the surgery themselves. Okay, well, let's just put it here. Yeah, that works.
I had to bite my tongue so hard when y'all mentioned, what if ghouls need ghoul organs? And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense because you can just stick it on and it'll work.
I gotta tell you, you are okay. We're yay episodes in. We're 6 episodes in. Can we give Karina a round of applause for really not giving up the ghost in any form or fashion? She's really, really good. You guys are terrible.
Truly the Gimple.
I try.
She is. You guys are way too honest.
Even her poker face is amazing because I'll say something and I will stare her down so hard, just looking for any flicker of and nothing.
Just zone
You're
out.
terrible. You're terrible, Rachel. It's like you're doing yourself a disservice when you do that, though. You know that, right? Yeah.
Oh, my face is louder than my mouth. Yeah,
it is.
I know.
If you'd watched the head, I would have known.
I know.
Here's what would happen. Let me just imitate. I'm going to try to verbalize it afterwards. But this is what would happen. Let's say it was me that said something, just because I'm the only one who doesn't know things here. And then this is what you would do. Okay, now let me explain that for the audio podcast.
I'm not so sure about the arm flailing, but I
am exaggerating.
I would definitely cover my face.
This is but when I explain it audibly, you'll understand.
Yeah.
First of all, she would hop up out of her seat, literally, not out, but like up. Arms might flail.
I've been known to hop out of my seat.
She would gasp and then suddenly put both hands in front of her mouth, which means she's just given up the ghost on what I've literally just said, or I've said it so close to what actually happens that she feels like she has to say something about it to either correct me because I'm wrong-ish, or it is exciting to know something. And want to tell your friend.
Yes.
I do have a really good poker face when I need it, though. I used to take all my friends' money when I played actual poker. When I'm playing actual poker, you cannot read this. That's when it
poker face.
Yeah.
I think you get better at it the more you drink, but there is a threshold. It's like if you could push that threshold.
I will take your word for it.
When you play Jackbox games, sometimes you're really good. But then eventually you'll just go blah, 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 blah. Not throw up, but like laugh hysterically.
So Bridget says all the time how competitive she is. And like, I'll be honest, if I'm in a game, I am too. But like in life, I'm like, man, whatever. But if I'm like playing a game and I want to win, yeah, I'm gonna win.
I've learned from kindergarten with the other boys. We're going back to this.
Oh God, not this again.
But there is competition, and it can get ugly between boys, specifically. See, girls will have the wherewithal to stop at not throwing the kitchen sink at you, not literally, but boys will throw everything if they have the intelligence to. They'll throw, and your mom's a Coke addict. Is that true? Doesn't matter, does it? As long as the kids laugh at you. It was said out loud. Yeah, they'll say Coke mom. Anyway, whatever. Nuke mom, whatever.
The most competitive person I think I know is probably Jeff Wagner. The few times we've gone to Disney together, like as a group, we go to the Toy Story thing where they're like the shooting game, right? He takes it so seriously.
No, gotta get this right.
Yeah, and he always gets the high score. I don't feel very competitive, but he makes me competitive, and I'm like, I'm gonna beat him this time. And he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. And then inevitably I lose. And I'm
hey, you know what? Kudos to you for even trying, though. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? The fun in the in the competition.
Of course.
He doesn't say, you're an idiot, you're a loser, stop being a loser, still even try, right? He doesn't do that.
No, it's all fun.
Try what?
No, it's all fun, obviously.
What? Poker face. All of this to say is that sometimes when you're a kid and you're faced with this ugliness in competition, that it traumatizes you. And even though I am competitive and I'm a completionist and I like to show off my talents in that form or fashion where I'm puzzle solving and I'm like, look at what I can do. I can figure out a show on a podcast years later and not be called a stupid duty head. I have that ugly competition in me too, but I got bullied out of it. So I think I won.
Nice.
I think I won later on.
To let it go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because I don't want to be like Philip.
I'm not a bad loser either. Like if I lose something, I'm like, whatever. Unless somebody like starts picking and poking, like, oh, I won, you lost. And then I'm like, okay, we're gonna fight for real.
It's called being a sore winner though. Like
yeah. Like I don't like it either way.
Yeah.
Like if I win or if I lose, I'm not gonna rub it in anybody's face.
Right.
No matter what.
Well, you know how kids are too. Emotional regulation. So I, as a kid, that would totally bother me. And if I was playing a video game, if my brother and I would, first of all, I would dominate my brother in video games every single time. But then you get to a certain age and they get better at you at something. First of all, you stop gaming because you're off to college or live in Chicago. You don't have a console. You're not playing video games. You come back home. MFer starts beating me in games I would destroy him in. I punch him in the arm. I'm so frustrated. Now I'm still granted, still kind of in my 20s. And he's like, we have a 10-year age difference too. So if I'm 22 or 23, he's 13.
Oh,
it's acceptable.
Oh no.
I know. It's within the realm of acceptable. I wouldn't punch him that well. There was that one time.
Oh my gosh.
Still, I'm not proud of this. It happened. We're talking about our things now. But you grow up and then you just throw it over your shoulder. It's the Alexander effect. You want to beat your father at everything, and then when the son tries to beat you at the thing, you have to slap him back down to make him think that he's never going to beat you. But it just makes him better.
Back down. Oh my gosh.
I think we have discovered more things that we wanted to know about me in this episode.
Just opening up like a therapy session, I guess.
Yeah. So if you like what you heard, my childhood stories and trauma, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. Leave us 5 stars and a punch in the arm. That's all we need to know that you love us. But tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. But remember to tell us after every single episode. It really helps. But if you want to take your support to the next level, besides liking and sharing and talking about us to people in the other room or in the same room, well, consider heading over to either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead and just following us, because when you do, you'll get our recording schedules, because we don't post them on social media. We only post them there. Attending these recording sessions are free, and following is free, and is just the next step in the decision for you to perhaps, and this would be a great thing, especially with June rolling around the next month, because we're planning on doing a lot of things and we need money to do it. It's the first time in a very long time we've asked you for support monetarily. It really, really helps. And if you really enjoy what you're listening to, you can hear a whole lot more of it with your support. Tip us and you'll receive the unedited episode recording, of which you'll definitely want for this episode. I think, because it is very cringe, awkward, and kind of funny if you're into that. Oh. And if you're a boy. I won't say more than that. Who knows what's going to be at the end of this cut. And if you decide to join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month, you'll get so many perks. Among them is, if you join the Whispers tier, you'll get 50% off in the merch store, the chance to join us in our on-stream with us for Jackbox live streams, which we haven't done in a while, but with what we're trying to do now, it's weird because we'll have less time to do things, and yet because we're hiring an editor, we actually might have time for it. Or if you happen to join the Survivors tier, which for now is of a certain price, which is $24 a month, you can join us in our episode breakdowns on camera and mic and tell us what's what. With that, I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, who ejected because she had to go to a doctor's appointment the next morning, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster, that's PUNKYBRUISETER, who also had to leave because she's feeling way drugged out from all these allergy meds, and we're all not feeling that great. And of course, last but not least, Karina Davey, who you can reach on Instagram at CARINAE_D. Check out her goddamn art. Visit her TeePublic store. Buy some art at Etsy already, goddammit. Just do something. Check out her stuff. Karina, work on some Fallout-based fan art.
I really want to.
Appease the fans somehow. I'm so frustrated. I'm actually kind of hungry. This is Angry Dave. We just found out another layer. Thank you all for joining us, especially Francisco, who's been in the chat. Thank you so much. And he says, losing is a part of winning. You have to lose many times in order to win by trying and being consistent. That's us in a nutshell. And he says, I'll give it 6 stars if I could, because this recording was legit hilarious. Glad to watch again. So get that unedited episode recording. You don't know what's going to stay in the final edit. Take us out, Bridget. Sad. There's no song. I will say I really like the Dardanella song, by the way, because of the lyrics. The Dardanelles is in Turkey, and it separates the Europeans. Well, for you, it would be this way. The European side of Turkey and the Asian side of Turkey, essentially. And so you've, in a sense, 2 different cultures and 2 different worlds colliding. And the song is about breaking from convention, marrying for love rather than being in a sultan's harem, let's say. So East meets West, essentially. So what happens? Well, this man is in love with a woman who is promised to a sultan. Basically, he wants me to sing Chocolate Rain. And instead she chooses, hopefully, because we don't know what ends up happening by the end of the song, hopefully she chooses her lover, who is the singer of the song. He wants this woman, this Armenian maid, essentially. It's really cool for an actual song that was made in the 50s. Anyway, with that, everybody, Chocolate Rain. That's the song. A baby born inside.
He says something. Yeah.
Chocolate Rain. That's all I know.
Oh my gosh.
By heart.